All right, perfect. Let's get started. Sorry for the delay. I hope the audio and video are both good now. And I'm just checking if I can write on screen. All right. Perfect. Perfect. Namaskaram. Namaskaram, everybody present on Crowdcast and as well as YouTube. Uh, Perfect video and audio as well, I hope. Thank you for gathering here this evening. Good evening, everybody. Namaskaram. I see there were a lot of questions on YouTube comments, and there are no questions yet on Crowdcast. So we'll get started. We'll look at questions one by one. We might not be able to address all the questions on YouTube owing to the number of comments going on there, but we'll see. We'll see how we can answer as many questions as we can. The objective of gathering here this evening is because there is a shift happening in the strategy of how courses are offered on the Sanskrit channel. Many of you might already know that there are so today's topics. First of all, we'll discuss the fourfold approach in which Sanskrit teaching happens on the Sanskrit channel. So there is a step-by-step approach of 4 S's. There are sounds, sentences, stories, and scriptures. As we go through them, we'll look at what that fourfold curriculum is at an overarching level. And then we'll do a recap of level 1 called as Vak Shuddhi. Almost 10,000 students have gone through it. It's almost there. We might reach 10,000 by this batch, which is batch 5. So by the end of this batch, we want to stop this format of offering the courses, which is consuming a lot of bandwidth. And we want to move to the next levels of courses. So we'll do a recap of what is taught in Vak Shuddhi, how it is going to be offered in the future, and then what are the next levels of courses after Vak Shuddhi. We'll look at all these 4 steps or 4 levels of Sanskrit learning, step by step, and look at a recap of Vak Shuddhi. And then the third point is how we are going to offer the next 3 steps. So quickly going to the first step, as many of you might have already seen in one of the videos already on the Sanskrit channel about Sanskrit learning curriculum, I talk about a comprehensive approach to learn everything there is to know in the world of Sanskrit language and literature, because every organization's and every teacher's approach is slightly different. Some people start with communication skills of Sanskrit called as Sambhashana Samskritam. Adaveva Samskritena eva Sambhashanam Tatra Bhavati. So in the beginning, right from the very get-go, they start speaking in Sanskrit to students in a very simple Sarala Samskrita Madhyamena. And that is an immersive method of imparting Sanskrit education, which is extremely beneficial in imparting communication skills in Sanskrit. And some others start with scriptures or the Vedas, how to recite them. Somebody else starts with, the Kavyas, Valmiki Ramayanam, or Mahabharatam, or the Bhagavad Gita in short. So there are different approaches that are taken, and students across different interest groups have, find one or the other approach as the most apt for their own study. So in this particular structure of offering courses, what I have decided is the basic necessity for everybody to get mastery in Sanskrit is the perfection of sound, and that is called as Vak Shuddhi. Because any small mispronunciation, something as simple as an extra a at the front of something, a front of a word, can negate the meaning completely. And there are different accents which mix up sh, k, g, h and g, s and ch, p and b, v and b. There are many accents which impart across the length and breadth of the country, which impact the pronunciation of Sanskrit sounds. And it is extremely important that we keep in mind that these natural tendencies of pronunciation of mother tongue influences might mistakenly change the meanings of what is uttered in Sanskrit. So it is extremely important to have the clarity or purity of speech, of utterance, and that is called as Vak Shuddhi. On top of that, once that is the foundation, and on top of that comes communicatory skills, which is called as Bhasha Prayoga, where different scenarios of usage of Sanskrit is uh, are presented in a practical sense. That is Bhasha Prayoga. And on top of that comes Kavya Parichayaha, where we can go through different Shastras, different kinds of Kavyas by Kalidasa or Magha or Valmiki or Vyasa or Patanjali, Panini. Any text by a poet or a scholar of Sanskrit, is all of those fall under Kavya Parichaya. And finally, the Nigamagamam is the final step, called scriptures, is known by the name of Nigama Agamam. It constitutes of two words. Nigama is not man-made knowledge, transcendental knowledge, or the perception of sages as they perceived it, the truths of the existential truths of creation, which are the Vedas and the Upanishad, the essence of Vedanta. And Agama are what is an inferred knowledge, which is a product of human thought and imagination. So they are also known by the name of Shruti, which is Nigama, and Smriti, which is Agama. And in all the videos of the Sanskrit channel, we have been looking at bits and pieces of each and all of these uh, four levels. So in some of the videos, I've talked about the perfection of pronunciation, and in some of the videos, I talked about how to start conversing in Sanskrit with words like evam, with extremely simple words, how pronouns are formed, how verbs are used in communication, how words are formed, and how words string together to form sentences. And then also different topics of poetry, from Sundarakanda to different stotras. So and also, of course, some of the concepts from Vedanta. So the exploration in terms of videos on the Sanskrit channel have been all over the place, as many of you might have already experienced. It is quite hard to find a rhyme and a rhythm, a set structure to learn Sanskrit step by step just by following the YouTube videos. So, in order to remedy that situation, the first approach was to offer the content of Vak Shuddhi, which is level one. This content pertaining to this in a platform called as Google Classroom. And Google Classroom is a platform which is used by many educational institutions, schools and colleges and universities use Google Classroom, because there is a structure to how one can consume content. There is a week by week divide. Almost 8,000 plus students went through the course of Vak Shuddhi, and many of them did not complete the entire course, but many of if those who have those who have gone through all the exercises. And because it's a course, it's no longer just an entertainment video on YouTube. It's a course where students have to apply themselves in order to get that knowledge, and work continuously in order to see that improvement for themselves. So those who have put in that effort have found immense results by the end of it. And all of those are accessible, the archives for our patrons on patreon.com. So you can see those people transforming, and the clarity of their diction improving with the 3 weeks. Sorry. So Vak Shuddhi is offered as a 3-week course, as it is right now on Google Classroom. The contents of Vak Shuddhi, the course, is something like this. The 3 weeks of Vak Shuddhi are divided into: week 1 is different forms of sadhana, which gives one mastery over Sanskrit sounds. It's not, there is no one particular path for anything. So be it any approach or any sadhana, there are multiple ways in which one can approach that sadhana. Similarly, for mastery over sound also, there are many stories of origin of sound. For example, the sounds are seen as skulls in the garland that Ma Kali adorns around her neck. They're also seen. They're also known to be different sounds that correspond with the petals on the chakras or the energy centers of the human body. They're also seen as different Shakti Pithas across the land of Bharat, and they're also known to be the sounds that come from Lord Shiva's Damaru when he struck it. And we, for our sadhana of Vakshuddhi, we look at that particular aspect where these sounds are seen as a set of 14 different vibrations or reverberations that came out of Lord Shiva's Damaru, called as Maheshwara Sutras. We look at how to utter each individual sound with how the vocal cavity arranges itself for Maheshwara Sutras. And we pick Maheshwara Sutras because Maheshwara Sutras play an important role later on in forming grammatical rules as well. So in week 1, we look at different paths towards Vakshuddhi. Then we pick Maheshwara Sutras as our approach. And then we also look at Nandikeshwara Kashika, which is a commentary on what is the symbolic or what is the deeper spiritual significance of why these particular 14 sets of sounds came out and how they correlate with different aspects of creation, like the Panchabhutas, the 5 primordial elements, how different sense organs of the human body, how the mind, and how the sense of self, all of them correlate with different sounds. We look at that commentary called as Nandikeshwara Kashika in week 1. With that, there's a solid foundation of what is the importance of uttering sounds right. And then in week 2, the entire focus is upon writing the Devanagari script, which is used for Hindi language extensively and many other languages. We look at the strokes of the Devanagari script, how to write from to aha and kakha gagha, all of that, how to write the letters of the Devanagari script. We look at it. We also look at different combinations of these letters called Sanyuktakshara and Dvitvakshara, how they combine, these letters combine with each other and how to write them. And this week 2 is mostly a practice session of repeating what we have learned in week 1 and putting it on paper and uttering it as we write it. So this component has been put in place so that people who are not native speakers of Hindi or Marathi or Gujarati, or people who are not Telugu, Kannada, for example, or any other foreign language speaking students, they can pick up and get comfortable with the sounds and the strokes of the Devanagari alphabet. And finally, once everybody is at a reasonable level of comfort with the sounds and how the strokes are, in week 3, there is a component called as Panchapashana, which is like a rite of passage. There are 5 challenges, 5 hurdles that one has to pass through. So these 5 are 5 extremely difficult, almost tongue twister like shlokas taken from stotras like Shiva Tandava Stotram, Shodasha Bahun, Nrisimhashtakam, and Kalidasa's compositions from Devi Ashwadhati, and even one shloka from Valmiki Ramayanam. So there are each of these 5 shlokas impart a very important lesson on how to utter sounds which are mixed together at once, and where to give gaps, where to take a breath, where to not take a breath, and how to maintain that clarity. So the objective is, once somebody is clear and can pass these 5 hurdles, then any Sanskrit text that they can take up, they can read effortlessly. So this has been the structure of Vakshuddhi and how it has been offered so far. And the final, and as I said, mentioned before, this is offered on a platform called as Google Classroom, and all the live stream sessions have been going on Crowdcast, as previous students, also those who have gone through Vakshuddhi, already know that there is a lot of interactive component to it. Initially, we thought we'll have assignments and assignment submissions and then grading like marks, but then later we found out that that's too tedious of a job for the entire team. So we shifted to having live interactive sessions where I bring students up on screen, and then we look at common corrections, and students practice them those shlokas and these week 1, week 2, and week 3 content along with me. And that is how the past 4 batches of Vakshuddhi have been conducted. And the last batch, this 5th batch of Vakshuddhi, is also going to be conducted similarly on Google Classroom. But after this, going forward, because the next level of we cannot stay in Vakshuddhi forever. There are, once we have this critical mass of students who have gone through the first level of learning, we want to offer them the second level course as well. So going forward, after this 5th batch, which starts on 3rd of July and ends on 24th of July, it's a 3-week course. This one will be on Google Classroom and will have that interactive component. But after that, there'll be we'll remove that interactive component, but we'll add some more detail so that students can all the common questions that we have seen so far on the previous batches, uh, we'll try to incorporate all of them as video lessons. I'll record all of those components again and add those as extra materials, and then upload them on YouTube. Maybe we'll put them as playlists, maybe we'll put them as member only access, so that there is a structure, so that students can, anybody who wants to learn it has to go through it step by step by step, and there'll be a structure to it rather than just random YouTube videos. So going forward, after batch 5 of Vakshuddhi, we'll take a long pause. I'm not sure if there'll be this is like the last forever batch, but there'll be a long, at least 1 year or 1.5 year break, in the duration of which we'll go through the other courses as well, level 2, level 3, and level 4. And after all the courses are complete, maybe we can bring back the interactive component. But until then, so in order for this group of students who have already gone through Vakshuddhi, for them to progress, I'll have to remove this interactive component. And that was one of the main objectives of having this live stream and taking you all through this process, so that I can convey this change and this transition that we're going to have in the format of offering this course. And after this next, and that is what is mentioned in this slide, we'll move, most probably we'll make all these videos which are existing as 3-week worth of content on Google Classroom into YouTube membership program, where all these videos, 3 weeks worth of videos, and we'll add homework components, and I'll personally record some more components which had like common questions, and answer all of them, and maybe add a lot of detail which was missing probably in the format that it is offered right now. And whatever I'm personally offering as assistance during these interactive sessions will all be available as extra videos on this, once we transition to this no live interaction format. And that is the objective of this. And going forward, what about the level 3 level 2 content, as I said before, many institutions and many teachers offer it in different formats. Some of them start with communication or conversation directly in an immersive methodology. Some start with the rules of grammar, which is slightly more tedious, which is what's followed in most of the schools and academia. The entire CBSE and ICSE and all state syllabi follow that format. First, introducing rules of grammar, and then communication. But what we will follow, what I had planned, what's on my mind, is to present a logical kind of a background, a framework which gives students an analytical overview. This is not ideal for students for very young children. For very young children, it is ideal that they get started with an immersive methodology, where they don't have to apply their logical aspect of mind as to how sounds are becoming sentences. But for most of us, most of the students who already have gone through a certain education system and who have this analytical thinking at their forefront, this framework of uh, how sounds transform into sentences and different contexts in which these can be applied. So that all that will be presented in a very logical sense, and then there will be exercises, and then there will be uh, multiple scenarios that are present, that are presented, so that students can practice them, or at least visualize them, imagine them as they go through different aspects of their life. They can see that this is how sentences are formed. So we'll take a mid ground between a completely grammatical approach or a completely conversatory approach. We'll be following a mid ground, which hopefully imparts a sense of appreciation as to how sentences are constructed. And from there we'll move to, as a natural consequence of the knowledge of sentences, for practice we'll be starting with panchatantra stories in level 3. Once students go through level 2, at the end of level 2, panchatantra stories are presented. And this the plan right now is to make it public on YouTube. There is no reason to keep this logged, or keep this private for students to go through. So all the panchatantra content, at least the panchatantra, the stories of panchatantra, how they are going to be presented is in the format of an audio visual book, where I'll be panchatantra uh, being a mixture of both poetry and prose. I'll be reading out uh, the Sanskrit lines of panchatantra and the English translations as well, and there'll be images going on in a puppetry kind of a format in the background. And this will be like a video that is scrolling up as I read it, and it'll also be available as PDFs for people to take printouts of if they want to, or read it on mobile phones or tablets. So that will be public. Some components of it, like MP3 files in the PDF, uh, may be made only for patrons or on a pay as you wish basis. um, and some of it might be offered extra as incentives for the members who join YouTube membership. But the majority of it, the main crux of it, will be available for public, for everybody to go through. And that will be the stepping stone, that will be the stepping stone towards understanding scriptures, and gathering more mastery over more and more vocabulary and more sentence formations. And finally, Nigamagamam, I thought we'll start with the 108 Upanishads, starting with Mandukya first, and then the principal Upanishads in the beginning, and then slowly there is an Upanishad called Mauktika Upanishad, which lists the importance of these Upanishads in a series. First one, Mandukyam, it says Mandukyam Ekam Eva Alam, which means Mandukya 1 itself is sufficient to gain the entire knowledge of Vedas and Vedanta. So we'll start with Mandukya and then see how we can offer all of them. So this is roughly the structure in which it is going to be offered, these 4 courses. The team is working on creating all of this content as quickly as possible, because there is, as most of you know, there is an ocean of content to explore. On top of this, there are uh, humongous and huge works like Narayaniyam, which contains 1,000 shlokas. There have been innumerable requests for Narayaniyam so far. And and somebody else asked for Mahabharatam also, which is 1 lakh shlokas. We have not done Valmiki Ramayanam itself completely yet, and only done Sundarakanda, which is just 2,000 shlokas. To do that, we had we had to jump through hoops in the previous month. But anyways, so once we complete these and offer all these 4 level courses, and coincidentally they all start with the letter S. This was not pre-planned, but somehow it so happened that the first level is about sounds, the second is about sentences, the third about stories, and the fourth about scriptures. So these 4 S's of Sanskrit learning is the step-by-step process in which one can learn it. And the main objective of this evening's live stream again is to mention that this fifth batch of Vakshuddhi is going to be the last, which has an interactive component. And after this, this batch is going to end on 24th of July, which is Guru Purnima. And after this, all the content of Vakshuddhi and an extra content which will hopefully remedy the lack of interactive component. All of that will be added to the lessons of Vakshuddhi and will be ported to YouTube memberships and for patrons also to access. But then we'll move to level 2 course. So to facilitate level 2, we'll have to take away the interactive component of Vakshuddhi to because there is not enough bandwidth to conduct interactive sessions for 2 courses at once. So that is the announcement. And this for everybody who has been asking me in the comments and on messages about what is an ideal way to approach Sanskrit learning, how to get started with learning Sanskrit. This is a step-by-step way in which imparts all-round knowledge and with the strong foundations of utterance of sound, and then gradual incremental step-by-step mastery over different aspects of Sanskrit. Of course, one can spend multiple lifetimes just mastering each of these aspects. One can either just stay with the sadhana of Shabda sadhana. There are Aksharamala japams and there are Akshara sadhanas. Each individual sound, each individual Akshara has a masculine deity and a feminine deity associated with it. There is a shloka for each syllable of Sanskrit. And you can stay there and do that sadhana itself. And that applies to all these texts. Panchatantra in itself is a lifelong lesson in dharma, artha, and kama shastras. And sentences and vyakaranam. Vyakaranam is not just the study of grammar and grammatical rules, but it's one of the darshanas, or one of the there is no translation exactly for darshana. One of the windows into how creation functions, grammar. So each of these is profound in itself, but for somebody who wishes to start learning Sanskrit and wants to make progress, this is the path towards progress in Sanskrit. So this is what I wanted to convey. Now we'll take some questions, both on YouTube and Crowdcast. Crowdcast first. There are no questions as I see them on Crowdcast. Namaskaram, Vijayji, Ratnaji. And who's that? I'm not sure what the name is. So Ratnaji, you're not unable to register for Vakshuddhi course. The Vakshuddhi course registrations are now open. So it's bit.ly/Sanskrit-course. If you look at the description on YouTube, you'll be able to find the link to it. I'll also add a call to action button. It's bit.ly/Sanskrit-course. So somebody asked why Gmail ID for only Gmail ID for registrations, because Google Classroom has multiple issues when it comes to working on other platforms like iPad or iPhone or MacBooks. So sorry, with other accounts like iCloud account or Yahoo.com account or any other institution email IDs. So Google Classroom is not the most is not the smoothest platform out there, because they offer it for free, of course, and they don't spend as much engineering effort in fixing all those glitches. So that is one of the reasons we are moving to YouTube as well. Hopefully that will smoothen things out and you can register with any email ID on YouTube. But for Google Classroom, as it is mentioned in the registration form as well, please make sure that you only use Gmail IDs. I'm posting the link for registration on YouTube comments as well, guys. You can check that. Anybody who is interested in attending this interactive session of the fifth batch of Vakshuddhi can register. and we'll get started with an onboarding live stream on the 3rd of July, and from there uh, we'll cover week by week, and over the 3-week duration we'll complete the last batch of Vak Shuddhi on 24th of July, which is Guru Purnima. There is a super chat by Rishiji on YouTube. Thank you, Rishiji. He asks, if one does the Vak Shuddhi after the interactive sessions are over, that is YouTube playlist, will the person still be eligible for stage 2? No, there is no such eligibility criteria as such. All content, we are hoping there is, as I said, these entry points can be from any of these levels. It's ideal that you take this path, but if you don't want to take this path, you can of course get started with any of these levels. So all of them will be available, Rishi. Thank you for your super chat again. Here we have questions on Crowdcast. Is there an email address for questions about registering? You can ask me right here, Ratnaji. I can bring you on screen. On Crowdcast, on our interactive platform, I can bring people on screen and interact with them. I've sent you an invitation. You can accept the invitation and we can have a chat. It ends on 24th July, Karthik ji. It starts on 3rd of July. The course is from 3rd of July to 24th of July. Patrons don't have to pay again. No, not necessary. You can just mention patron in the thing. But again, it's all of these courses are on a pay as you wish basis. So if you pay us, it'll help us in our future activities. So thank you.
Hello, namaste.
Namaskaram.
Raji. I went and tried to register, but I got stuck. In the payment step, I put patron and I said I put amount. There's something wrong there. I think you need to fix it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it won't let me through. I tried 3-4 times, and then I did something, and I wanted to pay for it as just a contribution, and then I got a response saying
anyways,
that
I have your email ID. I can add your email ID. I see that there are already 30-40 students who have registered. Oh no, almost more than 60 students have registered already, and their registrations went through. Not everybody pays, of course, here also. Maybe some of the other field was missing, but no worries. You are Ratna Nandakumarji, right? I'll add your email ID.
Yes.
No problem. Yes.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Namaskar. Bhasha Prayoga, eagerly waiting to start, Karthik ji says. Thank you. We are working on it still. Hopefully we'll get started on, launch it on time. Let me, are there any other questions on Crowdcast? Anastasia ji asks, Bhasha Prayoga course, it's not launched yet. I'll let you know when it, of course, with patrons, we'll have another live interaction where I'll even for the launch of Bhasha Prayoga, we'll have another live interaction. All right. Yes, Vijay Sagarji, that is fine. Cool. Questions on YouTube? Nikki Solanki ji asks, is this fees for the entire course or only for level 1? There is no fees as such for any level, but the recommended fee, which is 2100 for this 3-week duration, that is only for one level, Nikki ji. It's not for all the courses. It will be the same on, but it will be slightly different on YouTube memberships. It will be on a monthly basis. It will be very similar to Patreon. All the patrons pay on a monthly basis. But this fees is only for one course, one level as such. All the details are on the form, which is pinned in the comment. Milind ji asks, what are the timings for the live sessions? All the live sessions, live interactive sessions, which happen for the course, are on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time, so that people on both, on as many time zones as possible, they find it okay. So people in India, here in this part of the world, it's reasonably okay time in the night, and for people in the other parts of the world, it's early mornings. So 8:30 p.m. on Saturday evenings, Indian Standard Time, is when the live interactive sessions are. But the content on Google Classroom as such, the pre-recorded videos, you can watch it as many times as you wish. whenever you want to on any device that you want to. Google Classroom is supposed to work on mobile phones, on tablets, and on desktops and laptops and everywhere. But it doesn't work as well with other email providers like Yahoo or AOL or iCloud. So it's best to use Gmail, which is free anyways. Ratnaji, I'll add you to Google Classroom, and on 3rd of July, which is which is the Saturday, this upcoming Saturday, we'll have an onboarding live stream where I'll take you through how to access Google Classroom. It takes a little bit of uh, technical know-how, but we'll go through how to access the lessons, how to do the homework, how to download the course material. And of course, there is course material which is offered as images, PDFs, and MP3 files that you can listen to. And those, once you register for it, paid, unpaid, doesn't matter. It will be accessible throughout. And you will be given a Google Drive folder which has all these downloadable resources, and you can access that Google Drive folder whenever you want to. Last date for registration is 3rd of July. Who asked this question? Veerabhadraji. Last date is 3rd of July. And after that, of course, once the onboarding starts, there are no more registrations. And that will be the end of registrations for Vak Shuddhi Interactive. Okay. Somebody is asking about green card and stuff in USA. Lalita ji, I don't know what the question is, ma. If you can rephrase the question, maybe I can answer it better. All right. If those are all the questions. Thank you so much, all the hundreds of people who have joined us on YouTube. If you have any specific questions, we can now have a freewheeling conversation on different aspects of Sanskrit as well, if you wish to, and we'll end in 5-10 minutes. All the details about how to pay the fees and all the registrations and when you'll get the confirmation, all of it is present in the Google in the form, which you can access by the link which is in the pinned comment. About the course or about Sanskrit topics in general, about your own journey in Sanskrit, if you have any questions, you can ask me. Sunny G asks, what is the required per week time commitment? Ideally, you should at least spend 15 minutes a day. That's it, not more than that. At least 15 minutes a day. If you watch one video, try to practice what is mentioned in the video. 15 minutes. If you can spend more than that, the more time you spend it, the better it is. And you'll see that people of different, it caters to people from different backgrounds as well. So some of it you might breeze through. You might not find any difficulty there. But only a handful of students have had no issues at all in any of these. But even there, in the final 5 challenges, they had very minor corrections and doubts. But otherwise, everybody has something to learn, and they find challenges right in week 1 itself. And we'll see, and all of these interactive components are a lot of fun. It's slightly sad for me also to take away the interactive component, because there have been really young and cute kids. There have been twin brothers, there have been sisters who they like really cute kids who come and take the course together, chant these shlokas together, and it's been wonderful to have them all. But in the keeping the time in mind and bandwidth, this interactive component has to be taken away, for at least for the time being. So this is the last batch where this interactive component will be offered. But hopefully in the future, maybe a year down the line or a year and a half down the line, once all the 4 levels are complete and intact and are offered as courses, we can bring back that interactive component and have live conversations with students. Okay. Shivani Sharmaji asks, could you give us a glimpse of the structure of Bhasha Prayoga? It's very visual. I wish I could show it to you, but we have not prepared all these, the OBS platform which I'm on. The slides are not there to present how it is. So it's if I can paint a mental picture, should I start Bhasha Prayoga right now. Okay. So any conversation has three entities. You might think a conversation usually only has two entities. There is a speaker and a listener, but there is someone who is speaking, there is someone who is being spoken to, and then there is someone who is being spoken about, someone or something which is being spoken about. These are the three entities. And then among these three entities, all of these three can be either masculine, feminine, or neuter gendered, or there can be one person, two person, and many people. So it's a combination, it's a permutation and combination among three different groups, which is a conversation. And with this, there's going to be a visual format in which this is presented, and how words transform when they are used by one person, when they are used by two people, when they're used at, when they refer to, when they're being spoken to two people, when they're being spoken to three people, or when they're being spoken about a masculine gender in for two people. How it is being, how they transform, how these words transform when they're being spoken about neuter gender, many things. So we'll have all of these in a visual format, and you'll see these commonalities emerge, and all these tables that are made, that students are made to mug up in schools. All of them they can see coming visually in front of their eyes, and hopefully that'll give them a clearer understanding and a visual aid in remembering them and putting them to practice. So that is how Bhasha Prayoga is going to be. It is also going to be structured into multiple weeks, where the first week is all about the nuts and bolts of how grammar functions. The second week is going to be about no, the first is about examples of how different scenarios play out. For example, conversation between a teacher and a student, between in conversation between different members of a household, conversation if you're talking different stotras and different instances of conversation from Valmiki Ramayanam, or from different or between Krishna and Arjuna. These sentences, about how they spoke these sentences to each other and what are the components that they had in them, so that when students look at these sentences, then they can correlate this with the knowledge that they already had from week 1. And finally in week 3, there'll be enough framework so that students can start building sentences on their own. So that is how roughly it is divided. How what to what extent and what depth will go, what kinds of verbs do we cover. Only 3 verbs are enough actually to cover the entire vocabulary of Sanskrit actions. 3 root verbs are enough. They're called kr, bhu, and as. These 3 dhatus are enough, but I won't go into further detail right now. But it's going to be, again, as with everything else that is presented, I personally believe that it's very important to have visual aid, especially when there is so much technology that we can make use of, that students have as much intuitive learning as possible, and not just rely on just text and text out of textbooks. So we'll have as much color, and as much we'll try and hook the students as much as possible with different kinds of tools at our disposal. Any other questions? There's still a lot of people who are still online. Thank you for staying online. Hundreds of people. If how does one go about improving their Sanskrit vocabulary? Through different courses, the Bhasha Prayoga, and this start with sounds, then analyze sentences. That's how you start. How to become Patreon? You can become a patron by visiting patreon.com/the Sanskrit channel. In most of my videos, the link is given in the description. You can check that. The alien wants to know more about me, want to know more about you. I have done one video with a channel called High Road, HIGHROOAD. So there I talk about my background, what I learned, how I graduated, and how I started learning Sanskrit, and all of it. You can watch that. All right. Aravind on Crowdcast. Aravind asks, patrons will be notified when Bhasha Prayoga session starts? Of course. all of that will be posted on patreon.com anyways, and patrons have this access to all sorts of downloadable resources. There are multiple tiers there, very similar to how YouTube memberships also functions. There are going to be multiple tiers where one tier has access to all the MP3 files and audio files, and early access videos. So before, we might have videos ready in hand, but not be ready to put them on YouTube, because YouTube algorithm, to make sure that it reaches as many people as possible, we have to follow a certain schedule. We can't dump all videos on YouTube at once. But because we have them already at hand, I post them on patreon.com so that patrons can get to watch them first. So different kinds of perks like this. Then the next tier allows access to all PDFs and all previous live streams from all courses, and the next tier gives access to different sorts of documents, editable documents. And there's one tier which has Google Classroom access for all batches throughout. So different kinds of perks like that, and it helps us fund our own thing, because there are no ads anyways. And it's terrible to have ads in the middle of chants, in the middle of explainer videos. So I don't monetize these videos through advertisements. And there's no sponsorships or any other thing. So our patrons are our way of generating revenue. And of course, now with super chat, but super chat I've not really made use of. But I think Rishi had one more super chat. Thank you, Rishi ji, for your super chat. But I think this is enough. To what extent Panini's grammar will be covered? No, we'll not be going deep into Ashtadhyayi or Laghu Siddhanta Kaumudi. These are the texts that talk about uh, the sutras which uh, govern the formation of sentences. We'll be looking at it mostly from a practical viewpoint as to how to use them and how they are constructed, but will not be digging deep into the sutras of Ashtadhyayi, which is the main text of Panini Maharshi. Will not be covering Ashtadhyayi. We'll have introduction to grammatical aspects, but only to an extent where they are helpful in intuitively understanding practical use cases. But grammar can be a hurdle if it comes in the way uh, of you forming sentences. It can come in the way of because Ashtadhyayi is a set of 3,000 sutras, 3,000 odd plus sutras. So knowledge of all of that can hamper you in creating sentences quickly. So you'll have grammar, we'll go through grammar, but only to certain extent, and not in complete detail. Okay, somebody is continuously asking for Siddha Kunjika Stotram. Dhruv ji is asking for Siddha Kunjika Stotram. I've actually looked into Siddha Kunjika Stotram when we were doing Devi Mahatmyam or Durga Saptashati for last Navaratris. I uploaded the entire Durga Saptashati, the 700 shlokas, and before that there are a few stotras which are beneficial to chant, and one of them was Siddha Kunjika Stotram, and I looked at it, and it was filled, like completely filled with bija mantras. So stotras like this, which are extremely powerful and which are filled with bija mantras, I'm almost 80% sure that they should not just be practiced willy-nilly by anybody. And they have to be in a certain state of sadhana so that they can approach and chant stotras as powerful as Siddha Kunjika Stotram. So I did not upload it. But if somebody whom I trust can clarify that it's okay to chant and it's okay to offer to everybody, then I'll definitely do it. But no, Dhruvji, I see you're commenting like again and again with the same message. So as I mentioned, Siddha Kunjika Stotram, I most probably will not do it on and offer it in public. Start date of Bhasha Prayoga, it's not decided yet. Once the framework is ready on how to offer it, what to do, but once the content, we have flush out the content and present all of it, and then we have to work on the graphics aspect of it, and what to offer as exercises and all of it, and then it'll be public. But Panchatantra, the first video of Panchatantra will come out by the end of this fifth batch of Vakshuddhi. So by 24th of July on Guru Purnima, we'll definitely debut our audio visual book on Panchatantra. At least the first story will be out, and you will find that Panchatantra is an extremely interesting format of learning all the shastras, and it's quite it's as I kept telling my team, and as I kept saying in different live streams as well, it is not exactly PG-13. It might not be deemed politically correct for young children, at least below ages of uh, 10 maybe, or 8 on 8 8 9 10 at least is a minimum uh, age age bar for people who want to explore uh, Panchatantra. If the lessons of it, there is a lot of gore, there is a lot of violence, there is a lot of graphic description of pain in many of the stories, and it starts Panchatantra itself starts with uh, Mitra Bheda, which means breaking up of friendships. It starts on a kind of a uh, dangerous note. It starts with pitfalls rather than possibilities. So it's not Mitra Labha first. It's not gaining friendships first, and then the chapter on losing friendships. This textbook itself starts. It's not a textbook. The storybook itself starts with how alliances can be broken apart. It starts with Mitra Bheda. So it has a certain level of pain. It has a certain level of trauma in all those stories. Not all of them, but definitely because they are life lessons, they have that feel to them. So it's not appropriate for all age groups. I don't know when they can start looking at it, but definitely from the age of 10 above. For really young children, it is not advisable. They can just play. And in previous Gurukula systems also, the traditional systems of learning started at 12, and from ages 0 to 12, children were not really burdened with education or knowledge. They just played around. From 12 to 24 was the period of brahmacharya, or Gurukula Vasa, or where they started their systems of learning. So maybe I'll set 12 as the age group, and from 24 to 48 was the grihastha, and there 48 to 60 was vanaprastha. So these were the age groups set for different stages of life. So maybe 12 is a good age for students to get started with Panchatantra stories. And the first story will definitely debut on 24th of July on Guru Purnima. All right. PayPal not working. I think it should be Patrick G. You should be able to do it, because many people were still successfully registered and paid through PayPal as well. Maybe you can check the payment instrument that you have. Maybe the card or something that you have is not working. Yeah, PayPal seems to be working fine. Cool. Somebody else sent super chats. Guys, we are almost coming to a close. We are ending the session, so please don't send super chats. Thank you, Srinivas ji, for your super chat. Should I enable super chats on the channel? What do you guys think? There are many ways of monetizing. There are super chats, there are memberships. I don't know which is the most appropriate, which give ideally we are just doing patreon.com right now, and then one-time payments through PayPal or Razorpay or Google Pay or Paytm. That so far has been ideal for tax purposes and all that, and it's been funding our activities. But as we go through more and more, and there is and our projects grow more and more ambitious. And in the Panchatantra stories, right? And if we want to approach Mahabharata or anything else in the future also, we definitely need funding for all these topics. We'll see how to monetize them. But thank you so much, Rishiji and Srinivasji, for your super chats. Maybe I'll conduct other sessions with just question and answer sessions with super chat in focus. All right. PayPal has stopped his service in India. Is it? I didn't know that. Any other questions? Surayaji, namaskaram. Okay, there are two questions on Crowdcast. How can we prepare for the second batch until it is launched? You can again, but just pay as much attention you can. Clear up your pronunciations of difference. These small sounds like differences between n and n, and kr versus kri or kru. So it's not Krishna or Krishna, it is Krishna. So small subtle differences. So work on your Vak Shuddhi, the perfection of utterances of sound, and that itself will be enough practice for you to get onto Bhasha Prayoga. In all these 4 steps, again, you can of course get started at any level, but if you go through this particular sequence, and the more mastery and the more stability you have at each level, you'll see that the next step can be done as effortlessly as possible, and they naturally build one on top of the other. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. We'll end the session now. Madhuji, again, thank you for the super chat. Any other final questions before we close? It's almost 9:30. How can I join the new batch? People who are joining just now, the link is in the pinned comment and in the description. Thank you so much for joining this evening. Shubharatri to everybody, and namaskaram.